Good evening, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. Pakistan targets military assets in 15 Indian cities overnight. Indian air defences intercept enemy's drones and missiles. New Delhi retaliates, neutralizes air defence system in Lahore. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds high-level meeting with officials, reviews national preparedness and inter-ministerial coordination post-Operation Sindoor. New Delhi issues stern warning to Pakistan. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar says, not India's intention to escalate, but if attacked, would respond firmly. Government of India briefs political parties on Operation Sindoor. A united opposition hails the strike on terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Black smoke signals no pope elected in the first three votes. Progressives and traditionalists vie for supremacy in Vatican. On the night of 7th and 8th May, Pakistan attempted to engage a number of military targets in northern and western India. These were neutralized by integrated counter-UAS grid air defense systems. The debris of these attacks is now being recovered from a number of locations that prove the Pakistani attacks. Pakistan attempted to attack military targets in 15 Indian cities. All attempts by Pakistan were foiled last night. On Thursday morning, Indian armed forces targeted air defense radars and systems at a number of locations in Pakistan. Air defense system in Lahore has been neutralized. Indian response has been in the same domain with the same intensity as Pakistan. 16 innocent lives have been lost, including 3 women and 5 children, due to Pakistani firing, and hence India was compelled to respond to bring mortar and artillery fire from Pakistan to a halt. Indian armed forces reiterated the commitment to non-escalation, provided it is respected by the Pakistani military. Meanwhile, Prime Minister chaired a high-level meeting with secretaries of various ministries and departments of Government of India to review national preparedness and inter-ministerial coordination in the light of recent developments concerning national security. Prime Minister stressed the need for seamless coordination among ministries and agencies to uphold operational continuity and institutional resilience. He reviewed the planning and preparation by ministries to deal with the current situation. Secretaries have been directed to undertake a comprehensive review of their respective ministries' operations and to ensure foolproof functioning of essential systems with special focus on readiness, emergency response and internal communication protocols. All ministries have identified their actionable agenda in relation to the conflict and are strengthening processes. Ministries are ready to deal with all kinds of emerging situations. A range of issues were discussed during the meeting. These included, among others, strengthening of civil defense mechanisms, efforts to counter misinformation, fake news, and ensure security of critical infrastructure. Prime Minister called for continued alertness, institutional synergy, and clear communication as the nation navigates through a sensitive period. National Security Advisor Ajit Doval met Prime Minister Narendra Modi at his residence in New Delhi. According to sources, NSA briefed Prime Minister on the current situation. The meeting came a day after India struck at terror sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. On Wednesday, NSA Doval had reached out to several counterparts across the globe on actions taken against terrorist infrastructure in retaliation for Pahalgam terror attack. He had asserted that India has no intent to escalate the situation, but it is well prepared to retaliate resolutely if Pakistan decides to escalate. The government convened an all-party meeting for a briefing on Operation Sindoor in Parliament. During the meeting chaired by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, leaders were briefed by the government on the operation. Union Ministers Amit Shah, Dr. S. Jaishankar, JP Nadda, Nirmala Sitharaman represented the government, while Rahul Gandhi, Mallikarjun Kharge from the Congress attended the meet, among other political leaders. Leaders cutting across party lines have lauded Operation Sindoor and expressed pride in the armed forces' action against terrorists.
मैच्योरिटी दिखाया है। ऐसे वक्त में जब देश एक बहुत बड़ी चुनौती को हाथ में ले करके काम कर रहे हैं, तो इसमें राजनीति का कोई जगह नहीं है। ये हमारे पूरे पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज ने दर्शाया है और सब लीडर्स ने एक मत से हमारे सेनाओं ने जो कार्रवाई की है ऑपरेशन सिंदूर को लेकर के पूरे बधाई भी दिया और गौरव का एहसास सबको हुआ है और सबने एक जुट में कहा है कि सरकार का हर निर्णय को साथ देंगे, सेना के हर कार्रवाई को साथ देंगे और कोई इसमें विरोधाभास नहीं है।
Meanwhile, India's enemies remain relentless, whether along the borders or in the cyberspace. The nation stands prepared. Indian government is acting with resolve, fortifying India's defense, not just with weapons, but with truth, from exposing misinformation to dismantling Pakistan-backed propaganda networks. Every step is aimed at safeguarding citizens from psychological warfare.
India's strike on 9 terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, a parallel conflict has unfolded on social media with fake videos, misleading images and unverified claims flooding platforms like X and Facebook. The Indian government's fact-check unit under the Press Information Bureau has ramped up its effort to debunk false narratives being circulated online. The government has urged people to avoid sharing unverified information and rely only on official sources.
जो फेक न्यूज़ है, हमारा देश का एकता को कमज़ोर करने के लिए कई गलत नैरेटिव्स या फेक न्यूज़ चलाने का प्रयास कर रहा है, इसका मुद्दा सामने में आया है और हम अपील करना चाहते हैं कि ऐसे समय में कोई फेक न्यूज़ गलत तरीके से नैरेटिव कोई अगर चलाते हैं बाहर से देश के अंदर में, तो उसको विश्वास ना करें और कोई भी न्यूज़ ऑथेंटिक हो तभी इसको विश्वास करें।
What started as a focused and effective military operation by the Indian Armed Forces has now spiraled into a chaotic online propaganda rift. Pakistan-based handles are tagging old videos to falsely claim a strike on a military base in Amritsar. Debunking these false claims, PIB said that the video being shared is from a wildfire last year. Pakistani social media accounts are recycling this old video claiming a hit for Pakistani forces. PIB's fact check, however, found that the video dates back to 2019 when an Indian Air Force helicopter crashed near Budgam, Jammu and Kashmir. Demolishing Pakistan's claim of shooting down an Indian fighter jet, PIB clarified that the video being shared is from February 2025 and depicts the crash of an Indian Air Force Mirage 2000 aircraft near Shivpuri, Gwalior, which occurred during a routine training mission. Pro-Pakistan social media handles and even influential political figures are deliberately spreading fake news, fabricating stories of miraculous military victories and heroic retaliation that simply do not exist. Their goal is clear: to flood the information space with falsehoods so quickly and overwhelmingly that it becomes difficult to separate fact from fiction. This goes beyond mere misinformation. It's a deliberate, orchestrated effort to warp reality, mislead the masses, and shape public perception to serve a specific agenda. In a blatant effort to hijack the narrative and distract from the reality on the ground, Pakistan's state-affiliated accounts have turned to their familiar playbook, recycling outdated images, misrepresenting old videos, and inventing completely fabricated claims. However, the Indian government has taken decisive steps to combat misinformation by banning several Pakistani social media platforms known for spreading false narratives. But new mischievous ones keep cropping up every now and then. Bureau Report, DD India.
And an old video is also being shared to show a Pakistani attack on Indian military colony. Scrapping the video, PIB fact check has said it is a video from Indonesia dated 6th of May 2025 and was recorded before Operation Sindoor was even launched. And DD India correspondent Amritpal Singh joins us live from Chandigarh. Amrit, if you could first share the details of how India foiled Pakistan's attempts to engage military targets.
Late last night, Pakistan launched multiple, moving targets, basically rockets into India aimed at 15 cities. India used its air defense system, deployed what we hear from sources is deployed, the Indian Air Force deployed its S-400 missile intercepting systems and was able to, intercept and neutralize all these moving targets. Now, the S-400, as you know, has a capability to track moving objects into your own territory about 600 kilometers away and neutralize them about 400 kilometers away. So these were aimed at hitting multiple places: Amritsar, Pathankot, Srinagar, Avantipura, Ludhiana, Bathinda, Chandigarh, Bhuj, places in Rajasthan. So these rockets or incoming objects were neutralized. The Indian Army and the Indian Air Force early in the morning launched a retaliatory attack by launching its drones. What we hear is Harpy drones were used, which are Israeli acquired drones, which went and delivered payloads in multiple cities in Pakistan. Out of that, we know that Lahore they were able to neutralize the Lahore air defense system. There were loud explosions heard near the Lahore air base this morning and reported by locals from there on social media. But later in the day, towards the afternoon, the Indian government confirmed, the Indian defense establishment confirmed that the Lahore air base air defense system has been neutralized. So that's what transpired, Shubhendu.
Right. Amrit, also, given the evolving situation, what kind of preparedness is being maintained by India?
The preparedness, all your security installations, all your important installations, government installations, installations of economic importance like your dams, etc. Your factories have been secured. They've been security has been heightened. You have a gridlock, US gridlock system that is active. Your army is on high alert. The Prime Minister today called a meeting of important secretaries of the Government of India and asked them to be prepared to deal with any kind of situation and see that interministerial synergy is there around the country where it's required. Civil defense drills are being held, blackouts are being held, people are being sensitized to a mock drill in the event of an attack, sirens are being blown. So all that is in place, and the important installations have been secured by the state polices, also the paramilitary forces and the Army and the Air Force and the Navy, which guard our borders, the air, land and sea borders, are on high alert and are prepared to deal with any kind of situation, and therefore a sense of preparedness exists in the country if Pakistan goes down any the misadventuresome way. Shubhendu?
Amrit, thank you for joining us with those updates. Major world leaders have supported India in its fight against terrorism. Operation Sindoor struck terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Top global officials have also expressed their concern over Pakistan's support for terrorism. Here's more.
In response to the terror attack targeting tourists in Pahalgam on April 22nd, India launched Operation Sindoor on the terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir on Wednesday. Leaders across the world have supported India's firm stand in fight against terror. US President Donald Trump said that people knew based on some of the past experience that something was going to happen. He hoped that the fighting would end soon. Israeli ambassador to India, Reuven Azar, took to social media platform X. He wrote, Israel supports India's right to self-defense. Terrorists should know that there is no place to escape from their heinous crimes against innocents. France's Ministry for Europe and Foreign Affairs on Wednesday said it supports India in its fight against terrorist groups. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot has also called on India and Pakistan to exercise restraint. Speaking in the UK House of Commons, Member of Parliament Priti Patel condemned the April 22nd Pahalgam terror attack and called on the British government to strengthen counter-terror cooperation with India. Patel also highlighted the importance of UK's security cooperation with India.
This is clearly a precarious moment, and we want to see tensions ease between India and Pakistan. We want to avoid a state-on-state military escalation. We're also clear that India has the right to take reasonable and proportionate steps to defend itself and to dismantle the vile terrorist infrastructure that has caused death and continues to threaten them. And we know that terrorists based in Pakistan threaten India and Western interests. It was the country that Osama bin Laden was hiding in. And because of the long history of violence inflicted by terrorists on India, the UK has in place long-standing security cooperation agreements with India.
UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy in a statement said UK was clear in its condemnation of horrific terrorist attack in Pahalgam last month. He added that UK needs all sides to work urgently to see regional stability restored and ensure protection of civilians. Former UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak strongly supported India in its fight against terrorism, saying, "No nation should have to accept terrorist attacks being launched against it from land controlled by another country." He added that India is justified in striking terrorist infrastructure. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres' spokesperson said that UN chief is very concerned and has called on both nations to exercise maximum military restraint. Netherlands MP Geert Wilders, while extended his support to India, wrote on X that Kashmir is 100% Indian, using hashtag Pakistan behind Pahalgam. Panama, a non-permanent UNSC member, has issued a statement saying it stands in solidarity with India in the ongoing fight against terrorism. Other countries, including Russia, UAE and Japan, also stood by India in its fight against zero tolerance to terrorism. Bureau Report, DD India.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh delivered keynote address at the National Quality Conclave 2025, a premier gathering celebrating excellence in quality innovation today. Speaking at the conference, Minister Singh hailed and congratulated Indian Armed Forces for their act of bravery against Pakistan. He said that the precision with which Operation Sindoor was executed is unimaginable and praiseworthy. He also highlighted the nation's strides in defence, research and quality advancement.
हमारी आर्म फोर्सेस ने कल जो कार्रवाई की है, जो शौर्य और पराक्रम दिखाया है, उसके लिए मैं हृदय से बधाई देता हूं। जिस प्रेसिजन के साथ यानी जिस सटीकता के साथ ऑपरेशन सिंदूर एग्जीक्यूट किया गया, वह अनइमेजिनेबल है, बहुत ही सराहनीय है। इसमें 9 टेररिस्ट कैंप्स तबाह हुए और अच्छी खासी संख्या में आतंकी मारे गए। जिस तरह से इस ऑपरेशन को किसी भी इनोसेंट को नुकसान पहुंचाए बिना मिनिमम कोलेटरल डैमेज के साथ अंजाम दिया गया, वह इसलिए संभव हो पाया क्योंकि हमारे फॉर्मिडेबल एंड प्रोफेशनली ट्रेन्ड आर्म फोर्सेस के पास इक्विपमेंट भी हाई क्वालिटी के थे।
Iranian Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Abbas Araghchi, who is on a 2-day visit to India, co-chaired the 20th India-Iran Joint Commission meeting. Along with External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, the leaders held a comprehensive review of the bilateral cooperation and agreed on steps in multiple domains. They also held wide-ranging discussions on regional and global developments. In his remarks at the meeting, Minister Jaishankar underscored that Araghchi's visit is happening at a time when India is responding to a particularly barbaric attack on April 22nd in Jammu and Kashmir, leading it to respond on May 7th by striking at the cross-border terrorist infrastructure. He noted that India has no intention to escalate, but if attacked, it will be met with a very strong response.
Excellency, you are visiting India at a time when we are responding to a particularly barbaric terrorist attack on 22nd April in the Indian Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. This attack compelled us to respond on 7th May by striking at cross-border terrorist infrastructure. Our response was targeted and measured. It is not our intention to escalate the situation. However, if there are military attacks on us, there should be no doubt that it will be met with a very, very firm response. As a neighbor and a close partner, it is important that you have a good understanding of the situation. Once again, a very warm welcome to Delhi, and I invite you for your opening remarks.
Earlier, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar met with Saudi Arabia's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Adel Al-Jubeir, in New Delhi on Thursday. During the talks, Minister Jaishankar shared India's perspective on firmly countering terrorism with his Saudi counterpart. The Quad countries, Australia, India, Japan and the United States have conducted a key simulation exercise to boost regional coordination and disaster response. From April 28 to May 2nd, the four nations gathered at Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies in Honolulu, Hawaii, for a tabletop simulation focused on Indo-Pacific Logistics Network, or IPLN. In a statement, the Ministry of External Affairs said this network will help Quad partners respond faster and more efficiently to natural disasters. It can also be used in situations involving military conflict in the Indo-Pacific region. Experts believe this coordination is crucial to counter any inimical activities in the region. The Quad reaffirmed its commitment to keep the Indo-Pacific region free, open and secure through practical cooperation and shared readiness. Still to come on DD India Newshour. South Korea claims that North fired multiple short-range ballistic missiles off its east coast. Japan condemns the missile launch. Philippines and China accuse one another of maritime confrontation around the contested shoal in South China Sea. Uncertainty prevails as three-day ceasefire called by Russia comes into force. Ukraine dismisses it as theatrics, asks for 30-day truce instead. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. The Baloch Liberation Army has claimed responsibility for two separate attacks that resulted in the deaths of 14 Pakistani army personnel in Bolan and Kech. In an incident, BLA Special Tactical Operations Squad carried out a remote-controlled IED attack on military convoy vehicle in Shorkand area of Mach, Bolan. The blast reportedly killed all 12 soldiers on board, including Special Operations Commander Tariq Imran and Subedar Umar Farooq. In another operation, BLA fighters targeted a bomb disposal squad of the Pakistani army in Kolag, Tegran area of Kech. 2 personnel were killed in the attack. In other news, North Korea fired at least one unidentified ballistic missile about a week after Pyongyang tested a new destroyer. Pyongyang fired unidentified ballistic missile into the East Sea, which is also known as the Sea of Japan. The launch came about a week after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ordered Navy vessels to be specially armed with nuclear weapons as the country conducted its first test firing of a new warship weapons system. North Korea's neighboring nation South Korea called the firing of missiles a performance test of various projectiles for export. They further said that Seoul is closely communicating with the US and Japan to share information about the launch.
배경이나 의도에 대해서는 분석하고 있습니다.
We are currently analyzing the background and intent behind these launches. However, it is assessed that the launch may have been to test the performance and flight stability of missiles intended for export.
위한 실험일 수도 있다고 평가하고 있습니다.
Meanwhile, Japan has strongly condemned North Korea's launch of ballistic missiles. Japanese government spokesperson Yoshimasa Hayashi said one of the missiles fell in the Sea of Japan, east of the Korean peninsula, outside of Japan's exclusive economic zone.
North Korea's actions, including its repeated launches of ballistic missiles, threaten the peace and security of Japan's region and the international community. The launch of such ballistic missiles violates relevant Security Council resolutions and is a serious issue concerning the safety of Japanese people. Our country has strongly condemned this launch, protesting the North Korean action through the embassy in Beijing.
In other developments, the Philippines and China accuse each other on Thursday of a maritime confrontation around a contested shoal in South China Sea. A Philippine Navy patrol near the disputed Scarborough Shoal encountered aggressive and unsafe movements by two Chinese Navy vessels earlier this week. The Philippine military said. It further added, such threatening and provocative conduct can lead to misunderstanding, escalating tensions. Meanwhile, Chinese military accused the Philippine frigate of attempting to invade the waters around the feature. The Scarborough Shoal, a triangular chain of reefs and rocks in contested South China Sea, has been a flashpoint between the countries. Turning to Russia-Ukraine developments, Russian President Putin has proposed a 3-day ceasefire starting Thursday to coincide with Moscow's Victory Day parade on Friday. Ukraine never agreed to the proposal, dismissed it as theatrics. He called instead for a 30-day ceasefire. For the past 3 days, Moscow and Kiev staged aerial attacks, prompting airport closures in Russia. The attacks triggered hours of chaos late on Tuesday and Wednesday, with temporary airport closures in Moscow and its surrounding regions. The Kremlin has said Russian forces will honor Putin's order for the duration of the holiday, but will respond immediately if Ukraine launches any fire. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky renewed his call for a 30-day ceasefire in his evening address on Wednesday.
It is absolutely fair that the Russian sky, the sky of the aggressor, is also uneasy today in a mirror-like way. Ukraine's proposal to cease strikes and establish at least a 30-day ceasefire remains in force. We are not withdrawing this proposal, which could give diplomacy a chance. But from Russia, the world sees no response. No response except for new strikes. This clearly and obviously demonstrates to everyone who the source of the conflict is.
US Vice President J.D. Vance has said that Trump administration wanted Russia and Ukraine to agree on some guidelines for talking to each other directly, which would be necessary to end the conflict.
Obviously, the United States is happy to participate in those conversations, but it's very important for the Russians and the Ukrainians to start talking to one another. We think that is the next big step that we would like to take. And why does that matter? The reason it matters is because, again, I mentioned the Russians, but also the Ukrainians have also been sort of, they've put a piece of paper in our hands that says this is what we would need in order to bring this conflict to a successful resolution from our perspective.
Ukrainian President Zelensky and other top officials marked the World War II anniversary on Thursday. Ukraine's First Lady Olena Zelensky, Prime Minister Denis Shamhal, and various representatives of foreign diplomatic missions were also present during the event. In some other news, black smoke billowed from the chimney atop the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican on Thursday morning, signaling that the cardinals locked in a conclave have not yet chosen a new pope to guide the Roman Catholic Church. They are scheduled to hold up to 2 more ballots on Thursday afternoon, with the possible smoke signals expected sometime after 15:30 GMT. Thousands of faithful gathered in St. Peter's Square, waited for smoke to pour from the fuse on the chapel's roof. 133 cardinals under the age of 80 began the heavily ritualized and secret process on Wednesday. The cardinals held an initial inconclusive vote on Wednesday evening. Still to come on DD India Newshour. The US Central Bank holds the rate steady despite Trump's pressure, flag rising inflation and job market risks. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories. Pakistan targets military assets in 15 Indian cities overnight. Indian air defences intercept enemies' drones and missiles. New Delhi retaliates, neutralises air defence system in Lahore. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds high-level meeting with officials, reviews national preparedness and inter-ministerial coordination post-Operation Sindoor. New Delhi issues stern warning to Pakistan. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar says not India's intention to escalate, but if attacked, would respond firmly. Black smoke signals no pope elected in the first 3 votes. Progressives and traditionalists vie for supremacy in the Vatican. The US Federal Reserve has once again held interest rates steady, marking the 3rd consecutive time since January. The central bank, however, warned of rising risk of inflation and unemployment, signaling continued uncertainty for the economy.
The Fed kept the target range for the federal funds rate unchanged at 4.25 to 4.5%, aligning with market expectations. There was no surprise, but all eyes are on the next step. Fed Chair Jerome Powell declared the US economy solid, yet warned of rising uncertainty. The central bank vowed to stay flexible, watching the data.
Inflation has come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer run objective. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation appear to have risen, and we believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
Jerome Powell emphasized a cautious stance as the Fed balances inflationary pressures with potential labor market softness. He identified trade tensions, particularly from Trump's tariffs, as a significant factor obscuring the economic outlook.
The tariff increases announced so far have been significantly larger than anticipated. All of these policies are still evolving, however, and their effects on the economy remain highly uncertain. As economic conditions evolve, we'll continue to determine the appropriate stance of monetary policy based on the incoming data, the outlook, and the balance of risks.
Powell also said that recent public criticism leveled at him by President Trump didn't affect his job of tackling inflation and unemployment at all. Wall Street stocks closed higher following the Fed's decision. After the tariff rollout, experts don't foresee any rate cuts for this year, predicting that tariffs will push up prices and slow growth. Bureau Report, DD India.
President Donald Trump's recent announcement about contemplating tariffs on foreign-made movies has sent shockwaves through the global film industry. Filmmakers are confused about the impact of these tariffs. Here's more.
Trump declared his intentions to impose 100% tariff on all movies produced outside the United States. The statement left filmmakers from Canada to Australia in disbelief, fearing the potential impact on their industries. France's culture minister has vowed to protect the
And news just coming in, several terrorist attacks in India have been established to have cross-border linkages with Pakistan-based state and non-state actors. This news just coming in the interest of national security. All OTT platforms, media streaming platforms and intermediaries operating in India are advised to discontinue web series, films, songs, podcasts and other streaming media content, whether made available on a subscription-based model or otherwise having its origins in Pakistan with immediate effect. That's the news just coming in. Several terrorist attacks in India have been established to have cross-border linkages with Pakistan-based state and non-state actors. In the interest of national security, all OTT platforms, media streaming platforms, intermediaries operating in India are advised to discontinue the web series, films, songs, podcasts, and other streaming media content, whether made available on a subscription-based model or otherwise having its origins in Pakistan with immediate effect. The decision has been taken in the interest of India's national security. This news is just coming in. All OTT platforms are directed to discontinue Pakistan content screening of it with immediate effect. This includes web series, films, songs, podcasts and other streaming media content of Pakistan origin. The content made available on a subscription-based model or otherwise having its origin in Pakistan is to be discontinued in India with immediate effects. Decision has been taken in the interest of India's national security. Moving on, once the economic engine of Europe, Germany is currently in its third year of recession. Now, with the new government in place, putting the economy back on track is a major priority. A fresh set of numbers shows where things stand right now. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle DW and joins me from Berlin. Lars, what can you tell us about these latest numbers of economy?
Thanks for having me. Well, they're good. They're in fact a lot better than had been expected. New orders for the month of March are up 3.6%. That after a really weak start in January and February. Analysts had been expecting a plus of only 1.3%. For the final number now to come in 3 times as strong, that is something we're not seeing often. Still, like I said, we're coming from a rather weak period, with orders down 5.5% in January and stagnating in February. So looking at the entire first quarter, we're still down quite a bit. Anyway, one might see these latest numbers as a sign that things are getting better, but we should also be really careful about that. Sources are telling us that many orders might have been placed to be booked before these US tariffs would be levied. So that would mean that companies just moved up orders they would have likely placed later in the year. And that in turn means that numbers for upcoming months could be weaker again. Except, of course, if the new government is as fast as they promised when it comes to support growth for the economy.
And how's the new government planning to support economic growth?
They've been talking about a whole host of measures, including some very much targeted to support investment in new machines and plants. For that, the government wants to allow companies to write off investment over the course of 3 years instead of sometimes 10 years for now. It would be attractive for companies as it would ideally lead to many of them expanding. There's also been talk about tax cuts. After all, corporate taxes in Germany are just about the highest in all of Europe. Those tax cuts, however, aren't easy to do because obviously tax cuts cost money. And many would argue that taxes should be cut not necessarily at the top or for companies, but that they should be cut at the bottom of the economic ladder, that they should be cut for low-income earners in an effort to spur consumption. And talking about low-income earners, the new governing coalition has promised to let an independent minimum wage commission debate the level of the minimum wage. But the coalition's junior partner, the Social Democrats, have made it pretty clear that they want to see the minimum wage go up to 15 euros. Again, that would spur consumer spending.
And how challenging is the road ahead? Can all of Germany's economic troubles be solved by the new government?
No, definitely not all of them. We have these tariff threats from the US, of course, but then there's also the China situation, for example. We just got quarterly numbers from BMW, and they're illustrating quite well what problems we're having. The car maker says its business in China is down 17%, as the company's products don't fit well within the electric vehicle palette that Chinese customers are looking at. So much like its competitors, Mercedes, Volkswagen and Audi, BMW seems to struggle on what used to be a huge market for them. And there is definitely no easy way out. It's a whole different situation with the US, where BMW is hoping for a tariff deal with the Trump administration. Point is that BMW makes about 300,000 cars a year in its plant in South Carolina. And the German car maker is, in fact, the US largest car exporter. That's because many of those US-made cars are the SUVs that are also being sold in Europe. Of course, BMW is making regular limousines here in Germany and exports them to the US. But they hope that they will soon get around tariffs based on this balance of importing and exporting. Of course, nobody knows whether they will get a deal in the end. That's something you never know with Trump. So the situation remains fluid.
Lars Holter, thank you. Toyota has forecast a sluggish year ahead, with the company projecting A huge 35% drop in net profit by 2025-26, largely due to Trump tariffs. The tariffs include a 25% levy on imported cars and automobile parts. Toyota is the second highest selling automaker in United States, selling some 2.3 million vehicles last year. The company is estimating 180 billion yen hit to the company's operating profit in the fiscal year. For the current financial year, Toyota now forecasts net profit of $21.6 billion. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. To combat air pollution and urban sprawl, Mongolia's Ministry of Environment will provide free seedlings to 8,000 Ulaanbaatar households to plant trees in their yards under the 5 Trees in Your Yard initiative. In view of Ulaanbaatar becoming a concrete jungle covered by dust and smog, this year's national campaign, A Billion Trees, will kick off this weekend during the National Spring Tree Planting Days. Over 300 members of the Balinese Hindu community in Netherlands celebrated the inauguration of Shantachitta Bhuvana Temple last Saturday, coinciding with the Kunigan celebrations. The historic event marked the first Balinese Hindu worship place in Netherlands, was attended by Bali Governor and Indonesian ambassador to the Netherlands, along with the community members. Switzerland's third largest city, Basel, is gearing up to host Eurovision 2025 from May 11 to 17th, bringing a week of festivities and international attention to the historic city. Eurovision, one of the world's biggest live television events, is expected to draw thousands of visitors, reinforcing Basel's reputation as a key player in European arts and entertainment. According to the EU's Copernicus Climate Change Service, global temperatures remained near record highs in April, extending an unprecedented heat streak. The latest data confirms April 2025 was the second hottest April ever recorded, with temperatures continuing to exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels. Scientists warn this prolonged warming trend raises concerns about the pace of climate change and its long-term impacts. A new commercial kitchen has opened in Australian city of Hobart. It's designed to inspire passion among students for picking fresh produce and to turn those ingredients into nutritious meal. Here's how.
In Hobart's northern suburbs, busy hands are getting to work, scouring leafy vines and sampling fresh produce to turn into something delicious.
I think we're going to put this in a salad. We're chopping up some cucumbers and tomatoes, and I just chopped up some basil.
The ingredients don't have far to travel, thanks to a new commercial kitchen, now open just metres away.
This is the fruition of a long-term plan to have a purpose-built facility.
Each week, the space will be filled by students involved in the 24 Carat Gardens program.
This one's a cute small one too.
For workshops, taking produce from the on-site market garden and turning it into nutritious meals.
This is fabulous, to be able to grow the food, cook it in a commercial kitchen environment and then share it. And it teaches you skills that hopefully will inspire some of the children.
The kitchen will also be used for community events and catering, and formal training and apprenticeship opportunities are planned. The kitchen.
Let me now take you live to India's External Affairs Ministry press briefing.
Vyomika Singh for this briefing. With that, I hand over the floor to Foreign Secretary. Sir.
Thank you, Ranbir. Good evening. Thank you all for joining for this briefing. You would have perhaps seen some information related to developments since late last night, early this morning, which has been put out by the Ministry of Defense. Just in case it has been missed, I will request Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh to just update you and fill you in on the details.
Thank you, sir. ऑपरेशन सिंदूर पर 7 मई 2025 को हुई प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस के दौरान भारत ने अपनी प्रतिक्रिया को केंद्रित, संतुलित और गैर उत्तेजक बताया था। यह विशेष रूप से स्पष्ट किया गया था कि पाकिस्तानी सैन्य ठिकानों को निशाना नहीं बनाया गया। साथ ही दोहराया गया कि भारत में किसी भी सैन्य लक्ष्य पर हमले का उचित जवाब दिया जाएगा। 7 से 8 मई 2025 की रात को पाकिस्तान ने उत्तरी और पश्चिमी भारत में स्थित कई सैन्य ठिकानों को, जैसे कि अवंतीपुरा, श्रीनगर, जम्मू, पठानकोट, अमृतसर, कपूरथला, जालंधर, लुधियाना, आदमपुर, भटिंडा, चंडीगढ़, नाल, फलौदी, उत्तरलाई और भुज पर ड्रोन और मिसाइलों से हमला करने का प्रयास किया। इन हमलों को इंटीग्रेटेड काउंटर यूएएस ग्रिड और वायु रक्षा प्रणालियों द्वारा निष्क्रिय कर दिया गया। इन हमलों का मलबा कई स्थानों से बरामद हुआ, जो कि पाकिस्तानी हमलों का प्रमाण है।
On the night of 7th May 2025, Pakistan attempted to engage a number of military targets in northern and western India using drones and missiles. These places included Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Amritsar, Kapurthala, Nal, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Adampur, Bhatinda, Chandigarh, Falodi, Uttarlai, and Bhuj. These were neutralized by the integrated counter unmanned aerial system and other air defense systems. The debris of these attacks is now being recovered from a number of locations that prove the Pakistani attacks.
आज सुबह भारतीय सशस्त्र बलों ने पाकिस्तान के कई स्थानों पर वायु रक्षा रडार और प्रणालियों को निशाना बनाया। भारत की प्रतिक्रिया समान क्षेत्र में समान तीव्रता के साथ की गई। यह विश्वसनीय रूप से ज्ञात हुआ कि लाहौर में स्थित एक वायु रक्षा प्रणाली को निष्क्रिय कर दिया गया।
Today morning, Indian Armed Forces targeted air defense radars and systems at a number of locations in Pakistan. Indian response has been in the same domain with the same intensity as Pakistan. It has been reliably learnt that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized.
पाकिस्तान ने नियंत्रण रेखा पर आकरण गोलीबारी की तीव्रता बढ़ा दी है, जिसमें कुपवाड़ा, बारामूला, उरी, पुंछ, मेंढर और राजौरी क्षेत्रों में मोर्टार और भारी तोपखाने का इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है।
Pakistan has increased the intensity of its unprovoked firing across the line of control using mortar and heavy calibre artilleries in areas in Kupwara, Baramulla, Uri, Poonch, Mendhar and Rajouri sectors in Jammu and Kashmir. 16 innocent lives have been lost, including 3 women and 5 children, due to the Pakistani firing. Here too, India was compelled to respond to bring mortar and artillery fire from Pakistan to a halt. Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is respected by the Pakistan military. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Friends, this is, as I said, further to the briefing that was provided yesterday and some of the updates that have been just provided by Colonel Qureshi and Wing Commander Singh. I thought that we would just put some of the aspects related to the events that started on 22nd April with the barbaric terror attack in Pahalgam into further context, because there is a certain amount of commentary that has happened with regard to the events since then. And more than the commentary, there has been a lot of disinformation that has been directed at us from across the border. So a few things that I would like you to keep in mind. First of all, there is mention on all sides of escalation. I think the first point that you have to keep in mind is the attack of 22nd April in Pahalgam is the original escalation. ये जो सिलसिला है जो हम देख रहे हैं आज की घटनाओं को लेके, ये 22 अप्रैल के पहलगाम के हमले से शुरू हुआ है. एस्केलेशन वहां पे हुआ है और उस एस्केलेशन का जवाब भारतीय सेना ने, भारतीय फौज ने कल अपने एक्शन से दिया है. Secondly, I want to invite your attention to the involvement of the group calling itself the Resistance Front in these attacks. I pointed this out yesterday that this is a group that is a known front for the well-known Pakistan-based terrorist organization, Lashkar-e-Taiba. The group has been reported earlier. I mentioned to you about the Indian authorities providing information to the UN 1267 Sanctions Monitoring Committee. In fact, we are going to be meeting with the team again very soon, and we will be providing an update to the information that we have provided earlier. But what is interesting, दिलचस्प बात यह है कि संयुक्त राष्ट्र की सुरक्षा समिति में जब पहलगाम के हमले को लेके एक प्रेस वक्तव्य जारी करने की बात चल रही थी, तो आप सोचिए किस देश ने टीआरएफ का, द रेजिस्टेंस फ्रंट का उसमें मेंशन किया जाना, उसको अपोज किया, पाकिस्तान ने. This was after the fact that the TRF claimed responsibility for this attack not once but twice, within a few hours after the incident on the 22nd of April, and then again on the morning of 23rd April. And it is perhaps only after the full gravity of the incident was realized by its masters and handlers across the border that it was managed to back off from this claim. Obviously, that retraction doesn't convince anybody. तीसरी चीज जो मैं आपसे कहना चाह रहा था, और कर्नल कुरैशी और विंग कमांडर सिंह ने कल भी बड़े स्पष्ट शब्दों में और आज भी आपसे ये बात साझा की है. जो भारतीय रिस्पॉन्स है वो नॉन एस्केलेटरी है, प्रिसाइज है, सटीक है, मेजर्ड है और कंसिडर्ड है. Our intention has not been to escalate matters. We are only responding to the original escalation, as I said, and our response has been targeted, precise, controlled and measured. Only no military targets have been selected. Only terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan has been hit. Now, there are, as I said, a number of issues that have been raised in commentaries, and there's a lot of, as I said, unfounded disinformation and fabrication that has come from across the border. And I would just like to use this opportunity to set the record straight on some of these issues. The first of these is Pakistan trying to wash its hands off any and all involvement with terrorism. I think the Pakistani information minister said there are no terrorists in Pakistan. And I think he was challenged on that in the television program that he was appearing on. But even if I partially repeat myself from yesterday, I think Pakistan's reputation as the epicenter of global terrorism is rooted in a number of instances where concrete evidence is available, not just to India, but to governments and authorities and agencies around the world. There are several terrorist attacks around the world where Pakistani fingerprints have been found. I don't need to belabor the point with regard to this audience about where Osama bin Laden was found and who called him a martyr. Pakistan has also for decades pursued cross-border terrorism into India with impunity. And as I said yesterday also, in order to deliberately mislead the international community, they claimed that the terrorist Sajid Mir was dead. They came under pressure, and Sajid Mir was then brought back to life, arrested, and is now apparently in Pakistani custody. Pakistan is also home to a very large number of UN proscribed as well as UN proscribed terrorists, as well as terrorists proscribed by a number of other governments in the world, including, of course, the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed, as well as their leaders, Masood Azhar and Hafiz Mohammed Saeed. आपने देखा होगा हाल ही में पिछले ही कुछ दिनों में पाकिस्तान के रक्षा मंत्री और उनके पूर्व विदेश मंत्री दोनों ने इस बात को माना है कि पाकिस्तान का ऐसे ग्रुप्स के साथ जो रिश्ता है वो क्या रहा है. Both the defense minister and the former foreign minister of Pakistan, I think they've done a more eloquent job of this than I could ever do in terms of describing their country's implication in international terrorism and their involvement in housing these kinds of groups. दूसरा जो विषय है वो है पाकिस्तान का जो एक दावा है कि एक इंटरनेशनल impartial investigation होना चाहिए, एक joint investigative committee होनी चाहिए. These calls for jointly investigating this heinous and barbaric attack in Pahalgam. Again, I think you know the history well on this. You know the track record well, and it is not a bright track record insofar as Pakistan is concerned. In fact, in the pursuit of justice for the victims of multiple terrorist attacks, whether it be Mumbai in 2008, in Pathankot in 2016, or many others. But in particular for these two attacks, India had offered to cooperate. India provided forensic evidence and urged Pakistan to bring the perpetrators of these attacks to justice. We, in particular with regard to the Mumbai attacks of 2008, where a Pakistani Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist was captured alive, India provided extensive information and evidence related to the involvement of Pakistani terrorists in this attack. Cases were registered, but you are all aware that these cases have not progressed despite the formation of judicial teams, etc. And Pakistan has consistently stonewalled all efforts to move the investigation along. In fact, with regard to the Pathankot attack as well, a joint investigative team was formed. We gave access, unprecedented access, I should say, to Pakistani team to the site of the attack. Details of call records data and DNA, etc. were shared with Pakistan. We had shared with them details related that we had been able to access to the addresses of terrorists. We presented evidence against the office bearers of Jaish-e-Mohammed who had conspired in the attack and the handlers of the terrorists who facilitated them and guided them in. But there has been no movement on this. So in all of this, I think the experience has not been positive, and it certainly doesn't give us the confidence now to take at face value Pakistani assertions of wishing to participate in a joint investigation. These are just delaying tactics. These are just stonewalling tactics. And in fact, there is reason to believe that Pakistan uses the evidence that we provide only to cover its tracks and, in fact, defend the terrorists who we are looking for and obstruct the path of investigation. A third point that I wanted to address was the claim that only civilians were killed in the strikes on the 7th of May. We have made the point very clearly that all attacks on the morning of 7th May were against carefully selected terrorist infrastructure, terrorist targets. It is not clear to us, in fact, seeing some of the coverage of the after effects of these strikes, including the funerals for the terrorists that are held yesterday. I think a lot of you have seen the reports and the coverage on media. If only civilians, if any civilians were killed in these attacks, I wonder what message this picture actually sends to all of you. This is a question that is worth asking. It's also odd that the funerals of civilians are carried out with the coffins being draped in Pakistani flags and state honors being accorded. As far as we are concerned, the individuals eliminated at these facilities were terrorists. Giving terrorist state funerals may be a practice in Pakistan. Doesn't seem to make much sense to us. Pakistan has also claimed that India deliberately attacked religious sites. This is completely false again. I have made it clear that the targets were terrorist infrastructure, terrorist facilities, and locations connected clearly with incidents of cross-border terrorism into India. And it is in fact Pakistan that is misusing religious sites as a cover to in fact radicalize, direct and indoctrinate and train terrorists. In fact, contrary to what Pakistan is claiming, yesterday Pakistan launched a targeted attack on the Sikh community in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, hitting Gurdwara in Poonch and the homes of Sikh community members, which came under attack. And we know that at least 3 individuals were killed in that particular attack. Pakistan is also making attempts to, in fact, just to add to this point, the retaliatory action that Pakistan has taken, in fact, is impacting civilians. I showed you the picture of the Gurdwara and the Sikh community members who were killed in this. There are other civilians also who've been killed and injured in these attacks. In fact, since yesterday morning, a total of 16 civilians have been killed and 59 others have been injured in the attacks by Pakistan. Not only this, Pakistan is also making attempts as part of its disinformation campaign to paint our action with regard to cross-border terrorism through the communal angle. If that is the issue, then I think I can do no better than to cite or point you in the direction of the Pakistan Army Chief's speech of 16 April 2025, I think that is the last word in communal rhetoric. And in the Pahalgam attack itself, you are aware of the kind of religious profiling that was done there. And perhaps there is a linkage between these two events. I can only say that these nefarious designs will not be allowed to succeed in India. And it is to be noted that people from all faiths, all religions, all regions in India have unequivocally, not just in India but around the world, have condemned these attacks. The Pakistani claims of now responding to India's strikes of the 7th of May. As I said right at the outset, it is India which is responding. The original escalation was by Pakistan on the 22nd of April. We are the ones who are responding to that escalation with the action that was taken yesterday morning. And again, I would like to emphasize that the action was restrained. It was directed towards non-civilian, non-military targets and confined to terrorist camps. And again, as we have been saying since yesterday, any further action by Pakistan, some of which we are seeing today, is nothing but escalation by Pakistan now once again, and will be responded to and is being responded to appropriately. One point that I wanted to also address was the allegations to the targeting of a dam, the Neelam Jhelum project in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. I want to say that this is an absolute and complete fabrication and a blatant lie. India has targeted only and only terrorist infrastructure, and the details of that, that terrorist infrastructure, together with the locations, were shared with you yesterday by Colonel Qureshi and Wing Commander Singh. I should note that if this kind of a claim is a pretext for targeting Indian infrastructure of a similar nature, Pakistan will be entirely responsible for the consequences that will undoubtedly follow. Finally, I want to address the some issues that have been raised related to the Indus Waters Treaty and the disinformation that has been raised in regard to that as well. The fact is that there have been fundamental changes in the circumstances in which the Indus Waters Treaty was concluded, and they call for a reassessment of the obligations under the treaty. Over the last year and a half to 2 years, India has been in communication with the government of Pakistan. We've sent several notices to them requesting for negotiations to discuss modification of the treaty. India has for 6+ decades now honored the treaty, even during periods when Pakistan imposed multiple wars on us, and even when relations were adversarial. Pakistan is the one that has been acting in violation of the treaty, deliberately creating legal roadblocks in India exercising its legitimate rights on the Western rivers. Any projects that India sought to build on the Eastern rivers, and even on the Western rivers, which we are allowed to by the treaty, were always challenged by Pakistan, thereby hampering our rights to utilize our legitimate waters under the treaty. In fact, if you see the preamble of the treaty itself states that the treaty was concluded in a spirit of goodwill and friendship. Mark those words, concluded in a spirit of goodwill and friendship. ये भारत का धैर्य और भारत की सहनशीलता है जो 65 साल से हम इतनी प्रोवोकेशन के बावजूद इस ट्रीटी को निभा रहे हैं. However, as has been made clear earlier as well, Pakistan has not responded to our request to enter into negotiations for a reassessment of the obligations under the treaty. A number of conditions have changed. This is a treaty that was based on the engineering techniques of the 50s and the 60s. We are living through the first quarter of the 21st century. Technological changes and technological advancements have to be taken into account. There are demographic changes. There are climate changes that have taken place. There is the imperative of clean energy. And of course, the terrorism that Pakistan has wreaked in the state of Jammu and Kashmir itself has hampered India's ability to exercise its rights under the treaty. Pakistan's persistent refusal to respond to our requests to enter into government-to-government negotiations on the modification of the treaty is, in a sense, itself a violation of the treaty. And therefore, India has taken the step of putting the treaty in abeyance until Pakistan abjures irrevocably its support for cross-border terrorism. Maybe I'll stop there. I mentioned earlier yesterday as well that this is an evolving situation. I would therefore ask all of you to be considerate and restrained. It will not be possible for us or my colleagues from the armed forces to share operational details at this point in time. Beyond that, if you have any questions, may I have time for only a few, and I'll try to answer those questions.
Okay, I give the floor to Rishabh.
On Secretary, good evening. This is Rishabh from Times Now. I just wanted to understand, as per the press release that has been released earlier today, it says that we have successfully hit at the air defense of Lahore. Does it give our forces a better chances if in case of further escalation? And are there other air defense places as well at strategic location that were targeted?
Rishabh, you are violating the first rule that I set out at the end of my remarks. The press release that has been issued by the Ministry of Defense today speaks for itself. It is related to operational matters. It's been released by the Ministry of Defense. As more information becomes available, it will be released at the appropriate time. Once again, please don't go into operational details at this point in time because this is a constantly evolving situation. Yeah, go ahead.
Foreign Secretary Smita Sharma, just wanted to ask, the Pakistani Minister Ishaq Dar in an interview has claimed that the national security advisors of India and Pakistan have spoken to each other, if you could confirm or deny, and is complete severance of diplomatic ties with Pakistan also on the table?
I have no information with regard to contacts between the two national security advisors. Insofar as diplomatic relations are concerned, you've seen the steps that were announced in response to the following the meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Security on the 23rd of April. There are no further steps that are under consideration at this moment in time. Here. Go ahead.
फॉरेन सेक्रेटरी, मेरा नाम मनीष है, मैं TV9 भारतवर्ष से हूं और आपने खुद ही बताया कि कितना मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन क्रॉस बॉर्डर से आ रहा है. बल्कि ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे पाकिस्तान के प्राइम मिनिस्टर और डिफेंस मिनिस्टर तक भी प्रोपेगेंडा करने में मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन में आ गए हैं। वो कई बार तो ये तक दावा करते हैं कि हम 3 राफेल हमने गिरा दिया, इतने हमने मिग गिरा दिए, और जब उनसे पूछा जाता है तो वो कहते हैं कि सोशल मीडिया में हमने ये सब चीज़ें देखी थी। तो अगर आधिकारिक तौर पर अगर आप कुछ कह सकें इस पर, ताकि उन्हें भी समझ में आए कि इस तरह के प्रोपेगेंडा नहीं चलने वाला है।
देखिए, जब सही समय होगा तो आधिकारिक तौर पे इसके बारे में सूचना दी जाएगी। लेकिन जो आपका प्रश्न है कि प्रधानमंत्री और उप प्रधानमंत्री और विदेश मंत्री, उनके रक्षा मंत्री इस तरह की बातें कर रहे हैं, तो इसमें अचरज की कोई बात नहीं है। आखिरकार ये एक देश है जिसने अपना इसका जन्म लेते ही झूठ शुरू हो गया था। 1947 में जब पाकिस्तानी फौज ने जम्मू कश्मीर पे दावा बोला, तो उन्होंने किसी ऐसे वैसे व्यक्ति से नहीं, संयुक्त राष्ट्र से झूठ बोला कि हमारा कोई लेना देना नहीं है इससे। ये लोग जो गए हैं वो तो कबायली हैं। वो तो जब हमारी फौज वहां पे पहुंची और यूएन के लोग, संयुक्त राष्ट्र के लोग खुद वहां पे पहुंचे, उन्होंने देखा कि वहां तो पाकिस्तानी फौज घुसपैठ करके आ गई है, उसके बाद पाकिस्तान को मुंह की देखनी पड़ी और उनको मानना पड़ा कि हाँ, उनकी फौज वहां पे कुछ समय से पड़ी हुई है। तो ये जो यात्रा है एक तरह से 75 साल पहले शुरू हो चुकी है। तो आई एम नॉट सरप्राइज्ड दैट दिस काइंड ऑफ disinformation is being indulged in. Yeah. Siddhant.
So Siddhant from Beyond. Sir, we have seen a lot of negative comments coming from the Pakistani military of escalation. If tomorrow there is an escalation, there are strikes, we know one attempt has been thwarted, what will be the Indian response to those attempts of creating more escalation? Because it is looking like it's going towards more escalation. And my second question is, are any other world powers, essentially the P5 countries, the West Asian countries, reaching out to de-escalate the current situation?
Look, on escalation, we've already made our stance clear. I mean, there are two basic points. First of all, it is Pakistan that escalated on the 22nd of April. We are only responding to that escalation. And then what we have said yesterday and what my colleagues have said today, that now if there is an attempt at further escalation by Pakistan, it will be responded to in an appropriate domain. And therefore, the choice is entirely that of Pakistan to make. As to your second question, I don't think I can do better than to point you in the direction of the statements that are being made from practically every chancellery in the world and the sentiment that they are carrying. That sentiment essentially and for the major portion is support for the government of India in the context of the condemnation of the terrorist attack in Pahalgam on the 22nd of April. There is wide recognition of the government of India's right to respond to these attacks in self-defense, and of course a desire to ensure that there is not further escalation. I think these statements speak for themselves. Yeah.
Sir, this is Mausami from India Today. Now, in the all-party meeting, we have learned that the defense minister has said that, in the Operation Sindoor, almost 100 terrorists were killed. Would we have any details about what is the number like, and also about if there were any big faces, masterminds, terrorist masterminds who were in fact killed? There is also a report that Masood Azhar's family's 10 members have been killed, and Rauf Asghar, who was actually the mastermind of Pulwama, he's also been badly, severely injured.
I don't have information at this point in time to share with you on these issues. But as I said, I think, there is so much information out there on television, in the news media, in social media, that it sometimes looks like a long time has passed since this. Please understand that slightly over 36 hours only have passed since this operation was undertaken. Let us have some patience. Information will come out and will be shared in due time. Shruti.
Thank you, Foreign Secretary. Shruti Ranjan from Bloomberg. Sir, could you give us any understanding whether India has moved the IMF or the World Bank to kind of sensitize them about the the bailout that Pakistan has, and the kind of stuff that the Pakistan government is doing?
Look, we have an executive director at the IMF. Tomorrow there is a meeting of the board of the IMF, and I'm sure that our executive director will put forward India's position. The decisions of the board are a different matter. You know the process through which they are made. But I think the case with regard to Pakistan should be self-evident to those people who generously open their pockets to bail out this country. And since you are from Bloomberg, I think you would have the data on how many IMF bailout programs have been, very good, thank you, have been sanctioned in the space of the last 3 decades. And I think you would also have an idea of how many of those programs have actually reached successful conclusion. Probably not many. So I think this is a decision that board members have to take by looking deep within themselves and looking at the facts.
So we can, one last question, sir.
Yeah.
One last question.
Foreign Secretary, I'm Siddhant from CNN News 18. I would like to know, since it's an opportunity to speak to you, I would like to know the response coming from United States since last 3 weeks. Saudi Arabia, Qatar. In fact, Prime Minister Modi spoke to Qatar before the strikes that evening. Perhaps how do you read the support coming from these countries? Perhaps traditionally they were seen on the other side. This time around, their statements are strong worded. In fact, India-Saudi joint statement also had a very strong condemnation, strong worded condemnation. United States at all level have condemned the attack and have extended support. In fact, Saudi Deputy Foreign Minister is in India. He just met EMS Jaishankar. Also, if you could shed some light on his visit, his meeting with EMS Jaishankar. In fact, we have also been told that he met Prime Minister Modi. Thank you.
Look, all the countries that you named and many others, we have been in touch with them. The Prime Minister has spoken to a large number of world leaders. A large number of world leaders have called him, as have called the External Affairs Minister. As we speak, there are conversations going on today as well with world leaders. And your assessment or conclusion of the general tenor of these messages is very much on point. And I think this is a recognition of the fact, firstly, of the barbaric nature, the unprecedented nature and character and features of the attack in Pahalgam, and a recognition of India's right to respond to this. And also a recognition of the fact that in responding, we have been nothing but responsible and have done so in a restrained, in a measured, and in a non-escalatory manner. I think that counts for something. People have taken that into account, and that is what is explaining the kinds of reactions that we are seeing. And we appreciate the sentiments and the statements that have been made by the vast majority of world leaders. Yes, the Saudi Minister of State for Foreign Affairs is in Delhi. He had a meeting with the External Affairs Minister earlier today. I don't have further details at this moment, but if there are details, the ministry will share them at some point with you. Thank you. I think that's all we have time for today. We'll join you again soon. Thank you all.
Thank you.
You're watching the special MEA Ministry of External Affairs press conference. Accompanying Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri was Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh. The military leaders first made it clear about the latest developments as far as India's borders with Pakistan is concerned. On the intervening night of 7th and 8th of May, Pakistan attempted to engage a number of military targets, the details of which were shared by Colonel Qureshi. India also responded in equal measure. First, Pakistan's targeting was foiled by India's air defense system. Also an important development and response, India destroyed the air defense system of Lahore and also targeted air defense systems of other cities in response to what Pakistan had done. Meanwhile, Foreign Secretary highlighted the manner in which a number of disinformation, such details are being spread by the Pakistani side. In fact, he once again argued the manner in which Pakistan continues to be a terror hotbed. And let me go across to our reporter Dibyendu Mondal, who's joining us for more on this press conference. Dibyendu, Foreign Secretary and the team once again making it clear the context of the ongoing evolving situation between India and Pakistan. Where does the original escalation lie and India's response to it?
Well, Shubhendu, yesterday we saw both, Sophia Qureshi as well as Wing Commander Singh and Vikram Misri addressing, and today it was imminent on them to address the second press conference after the news that came in that India has been able to thwart the Pakistani attempt to strike through their missiles on important cities here in different parts of the country, in the bordering states of India. And also remember, what Vikram Misri, the Foreign Secretary, was talking about during the press conference, that Pakistan has been a rogue nation, and the demand of Pakistan that they had been demanding for a joint investigation and an independent investigation. It was replied by the Foreign Secretary of India, Vikram Misri, saying that we have seen the past track records of Pakistan, and even something like we have given access to the Pakistani intelligence as well as Pakistani government access to the airbase in Uri after the attack was made for a joint investigation. But despite that, Pakistan had been dilly-dallying and have delayed reports and action taken on the joint investigation. So therefore, the demand for Pakistan was just a hogwash, and it really did not want to do anything to inflict pain on the terrorists that causes or that brings on terrorist activities on the soil of India. So therefore, these demands lie hollow. The demand for Pakistan actually lies hollow, and that Pakistan is not serious about tackling terrorism. And also he mentions that, remember, that India had pushed for designating the TRF that claimed responsibility for the attack in Pahalgam on 22nd of April, that be designated as a terrorist organization. It was Pakistan that opposed this move by India and the United Nations.
Right there. Yes. Thank you for those updates, Dibyendu. And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. We'll get you all the latest news as it develops. For those on the go, you can get all the latest updates from India and the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code when we flash it on the screens to download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.